Let me ask you something that sounds simple, but isn't. Right now, somewhere in your home, your dog knows exactly where you are. They don't need to see you. They don't need to hear you. They just know. And the moment you move to the kitchen, to the bathroom, down the hallway, they'll be right behind you before you even finish taking the first step. Most people smile at that, call it cute, call it clingy, scroll right past it. But what if I told you that behavior is one of the most complex, emotionally loaded things your dog ever does? That it carries information about their health, their fear, their love, and the depth of your bond, all at once. And here's the part that will genuinely surprise you. One specific version of this behavior, one particular moment in your day, reveals more about how your dog feels about you than almost anything else they ever do. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and I promise you will never watch your dog follow you the same way again. Let's start with something that sounds like a compliment, but is actually much heavier than that. Think about your dog's life from their perspective for a second. They don't have a career, they don't have a social life outside your walls, they don't scroll through their phone at night wondering what tomorrow holds. Their world, their entire world, is built around one thing. You. Not food, not toys, not the couch. You. And science backs this up in a way that honestly should stop you in your tracks. A landmark study published in the journal Science discovered that when a dog and their owner simply make eye contact, both of them experience a surge in oxytocin, the same bonding hormone that floods a mother's brain the moment she looks at her newborn baby for the first time. That's not a metaphor, that's not a poetic comparison, that is identical neurochemistry happening between two different species who chose each other. So when your dog gets up every single time you move, not because you called them, not because there's food involved, just because you moved, understand what's actually driving that. It isn't habit, it isn't boredom. Their entire nervous system, shaped by thousands of years of evolution alongside humans, is wired with one core instruction: stay close to your person. You are the axis their whole life rotates around, and following you is the most natural thing they know how to do. Now, here's something most owners have never been told. There's a specific behavior in animal science called shadowing. It's when a dog doesn't just follow you, they follow you close, right behind your heels, so close you almost trip, so close you can feel them on your ankles when you turn around. And most people either find it adorable or mildly frustrating. But that closeness, that's not clumsiness, that's intention. Dogs come from pack animals whose survival depended on staying together. In the wild, distance within a pack didn't just mean you were far from your companions, it meant you were exposed, vulnerable, alone. The instinct to close that gap is ancient and deeply embedded. Researchers at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna found something remarkable. Dogs show measurable stress responses when separated from their primary attachment figure, not after hours of separation, not after being left home alone all day, but when separated by a single room. One closed door between you and your dog, and their body registers it as a genuine stressor.
So when your dog practically glues themselves to the back of your legs as you walk through your house, they're not being dramatic. They're protecting the bond. In their mind, every step you take that isn't matched by a step of theirs is a small risk they're not willing to take. And here's something nobody talks about. The dogs who shadow closest aren't the insecure ones, the broken ones, or the poorly trained ones. They're usually the most deeply bonded. The ones who have simply decided, completely and without any reservation, that where you go, they go. All right, this next one is subtle, but once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Your dog follows you into every room, but do they follow you the same way into every room? Because if you start paying close attention, you'll notice patterns that are actually a window into your dog's emotional life. Animal behaviorists have found that dogs mentally map their home into emotional zones, spaces they associate with safety, excitement, comfort, or anxiety, based entirely on what has happened to them in those spaces. The kitchen? high excitement. That's where the good stuff comes from. They probably walk in ahead of you, maybe spin, maybe watch you with locked-in focus. The bedroom? Deep comfort. Your scent is concentrated there. Dogs whose owners let them in the bedroom often settle more quickly there than anywhere else in the house. But the front door? That's the most emotionally charged spot in your entire home for your dog. Watch what happens the next time you walk toward the front door. Does your dog follow you and then freeze? Do they sit and stare, pace back and forth? That isn't them being dramatic. That's anticipatory anxiety written in body language. Their brain has learned, through repetition, through real emotional experience, that this is the spot where you vanish. And even though you've come back every single time, that fear doesn't fully disappear. The association is too strong. Think about that honestly for a moment. Your dog has learned that the front door means you might leave, and they still follow you there anyway. That's not separation anxiety. That's love with nowhere to put itself. Have you ever had a day where your dog just wouldn't leave your side? Not their normal following, something more, closer, quieter, like they're watching you differently, sitting on your feet, resting their chin on your knee every time you go still, following you into rooms they usually ignore. Most owners think they're just in a cuddly mood today. But here's what's actually happening beneath the surface. Dogs are, without exaggeration, some of the most emotionally perceptive creatures on Earth when it comes to reading humans. A study from the University of London found that dogs consistently move toward people who are crying, not just their own owners, strangers too, and they approach with calm, submissive, comforting body language every single time. They didn't need to be trained to do that. Nobody taught them. They just do. Here's why. Your dog is reading you constantly. Not your words. They barely care about your words. They're tracking your cortisol levels through scent. They're monitoring your breathing rhythm. They notice when your movements slow down, when your voice softens, when your energy goes flat in that quiet way it does when something is wrong. And when you're anxious, grieving, overwhelmed, or just silently having the kind of day that grinds you down, their following behavior shifts. It intensifies. It becomes something that looks less like habit and more like purpose. They can't solve your problems, they know that, but there is something deep in them that refuses, absolutely refuses, to let you carry it alone. So the next time your dog is inexplicably attached to you on a hard day, before you brush it off, ask yourself honestly what kind of day it's actually been. Because there's a real chance your dog registered your emotional state before you even consciously acknowledged it yourself. Now, I need you to hear this one carefully because it could genuinely matter. What happens when your dog stops following you? The dog who has been your shadow for years, suddenly they stay on the couch when you get up. They don't come when you move to another room. They watch you go, but they don't follow. Most owners assume they're tired, getting older, just having an off day. But veterinary behaviorists are very clear on this. When a dog who is consistently a follower suddenly pulls back from that behavior, it is one of the earliest warning signs that something is physically or emotionally wrong, and it almost always appears before any obvious symptoms do. Here's why. Dogs instinctively conceal weakness. It's coded into them from their wild ancestors, where showing vulnerability could get you killed. So they won't limp, obviously. They won't cry out. They won't come to you and ask for help. But they will quietly stop following, because following requires energy. Following requires motivation. And when a dog's body is hurting or their mind is struggling, that motivation is the first thing to go, quietly, before anything else changes. If your dog has pulled back from their usual following behavior for more than 2 or 3 days, especially alongside changes in appetite, eye contact, or sleep, please don't wait for something more obvious to appear. That quiet stillness is your dog whispering to you in the only language they have. The owners who catch health issues early are almost always the ones who are paying close enough attention to notice when the following stopped. Remember at the very start when I said there's one specific moment in the day that reveals more about your bond than almost anything else? This is it. Tomorrow morning, before you say a word, before you open anything, before you do a single thing, watch what your dog does the moment your eyes open and your body begins to stir. Do they look up from across the room? Do they lift their head before you've even moved? Do they stand up and come to you before you've decided where you're going? Research on canine sleep patterns shows something extraordinary. Deeply bonded dogs will actually lighten their sleep during the early morning hours, unconsciously synchronizing with your sleep cycle, so that when you begin to wake, they're already surfacing too. They're already watching, already there. Think about what that means. Your dog fell asleep last night, and somewhere in whatever dogs dream about, they were already oriented toward you. They woke up, if we can even call it a decision, and their first awareness was you, before food, before going outside, before anything. You were the first thought. A dog that follows you everywhere is not just an attached pet. They have made a decision, a daily, ongoing, unconditional decision that most humans spend their entire lives hoping someone will make about them. They chose you. They choose you again every single morning, without condition, without hesitation, without needing a single reason beyond the fact that you exist and you are theirs. The least we can do is notice. If this video made you want to go find your dog right now, they're probably already watching the door. Go give them a moment. They've earned it. If this changed how you see your dog, share it with someone who loves theirs. Like and subscribe because your dog deserves an owner who understands them this deeply.